Mazeo. I make art, and a lot of my art focuses on sexuality and consent, body acceptance, things like that, overcoming sexual shame. And I also love art. I have 3 sections of this tour. I'm going to start with the any favorite thing section. So this is like uncategorized art that I just love for whatever reason. And then I'll move on to more sex positive, sexuality related art, because that's so much of what I own and so much of what I'm interested in. And then at the end, I'll show my own art. So over here above my light switch is a very small piece of art. It is a fake saltine cracker. I saw it at an art gallery in Somerville. They were having an affordable art show, and they had a bunch of these little saltines for $10 each. And I didn't really like any of the other stuff at the art show, but I saw these and I was just like, I love that. I just found it really whimsical. And it's maybe a little bit lost through the video, but it in real life looks so much like a real saltine that I really thought it was a saltine someone had painted white. And then looking at the back, it is not. It's it doesn't have the back of a real saltine. That's just the back. It's flat. So that's something that I just find really playful. And I love accessible art that's not expensive, not too fancy. So I really loved that. That is made by an artist called Jill Comer, who is local. Another art piece that I want to show you that's on my wall over here is called How Do You Like Your Eggs? This is an art print. It's screen printed, and it shows these hands cracking eggs and all the yolks dripping down. This is made by an artist whose work I saw on the street of Montreal. She makes lots of murals, and I love street art. And one day this summer, I went to Montreal and looked around at lots of street art, and hers was all my favorite. There was a couple of murals she had done, and also a picnic table that she had painted in a similar way like this. And I just was this is one of my favorite of the artists I've seen today. So I looked her up and saw that she was selling this print, and I really loved it. And it was not that expensive, so I bought it for myself as a Christmas present. And I'm excited to have that around. And then this one I actually wasn't planning to do on this tour, but I saw it just as I was setting up, and I was like, oh, I really want to share that too. So this was a screen printed print that I got in the Netherlands at a zine fest in a city called Groningen. It is in Dutch, and it shows a computer with, I'll bring you a little closer, with a dating profile of a Nigerian prince, and somebody is asking the prince, can you turn on your cam? And the prince says, no, it's broken. And the person says, again? And so some of it is in English, actually. But it just shows this person getting scammed on the internet. And I thought it was funny and beautiful. And yeah, so I love having that. And most of what I'm going to be showing you, I think everything else I'm showing you is from my zine collection. So those are the only things that are not zines that you're going to see today. So this first section of general favorite things is definitely influenced by the pandemic that we're going through. There are not so much those pieces, but some of the zines are themes that feel really relevant for me right now because of being quarantined and kind of rethinking, like, how is my life set up? How am I living my life? What is going on right now? And self-care and things like that. So I'll start with this little zine called How to Make New Traditions. It's by an artist called Sarah Merck, who does a lot of autobiographical comics. And I'm very tempted to read you from zines because, like, I love them so much, but I also know that I can't read you every zine in my collection from front to back. But I'll read you little excerpts because I feel like that's some of the best stuff in the zines is some of the words. So this says, traditions are a subjective reality. The only things you need to make a tradition are repetition and personal meaning. This person saying, on my birthday, I always have banana waffles. It's tradition. Instead of being anti-holiday, I'm a big believer in making holidays into whatever you want. It's Valentine's Day. Ugh. Today I always make collages, then have friends over for dinner, and have a cupcake decorating contest. So it just shows different kinds of traditions that people can make. This is a midwinter mushroom gathering. This is Hello Arbor Day sandwich. And this is about choosing what parts of different holidays you want to keep and what parts you want to throw out for your own traditions around them. This artist recently finished a year of making a zine every day, and so I bought a couple of her zines that were some of my favorites from the 365 that she made. So the next thing I want to show you is not pandemic related, and I love the inside of this zine, some of the content, but my favorite part is the cover, so I'm just going to show you the cover. It is a picture of what looks like a teenage girl, sort of like a yearbook looking photo, and it says, "Welcome to your new life with you being happy," by Rachel Bell. And I just love the combination of the photo and text on that. And yeah, some of the inside stuff that I love the most is like kind of dark, so I'm not gonna make you hear all that right now. On a much lighter note, actually mixed, but thinking about lightness and darkness, is this zine by Lily XE, who's local to Boston. This is called Utopia Is. And this is one of her first zines that I got a couple of years ago when she started making zines. I saw her at a zine fest that I was tabling at too, and just totally fell in love with this zine. It shows, this one's really short, so I might even be able to read you the whole thing. It has these collage pictures, and it says, Utopia is sea breeze with dry dock waiting. Utopia is remembering your ancestors' words for the sea. Utopia is clean water flowing. Utopia is Trayvon turning 18. Utopia is men loving flowers, men planting flowers, and breathing the clean air. Utopia is a map with no borders. Utopia is safely walking to school. Utopia is death by natural causes. Utopia is me and you sleeping peacefully in bed. Utopia is me saying more, please. Utopia is feeling safe in my house, on the street, in your arms, all alone. I'm not sure that all utopia is freedom. In fact, I'm sure that it is much, much more. So that is a theme that I just really, I think resonates with me a lot. I don't know if I can explain how, but I really like that. This one is very on the nose in pandemic life. It's called Guide to Being Alone. And this I thought when I was going through a breakup, and it's just lots of serious practical advice about how to be alone. And I said serious and my phone started beeping because it's too close to words that it likes to react to. But this is practical advice about keeping moving, cleaning your house, going to bed early, traveling, which is not relevant for right now. I love this part, which is realize that your friends suck and what to do when you realize your friends suck, which is not a situation that I'm currently in, but I like the realness of it. The next page is realize that everyone sucks. Take a shower, do physical activity, take a break, play with some animals. Those are the things you should do if you realize everyone sucks. Being at home alone, that's a very good section for right now. Whether you call home a house in the burbs, an apartment in the projects, a squat with your buds, or a trailer park, a home should be your haven from the world. Once you get past the first few days of bumming around the house all by your lonesome, being at home alone becomes a piece of sweet, sweet cake. Going back to leaving your crusty socks on the porch and applying fresh lip gloss before you clean. No one's around to say shit. So there's much more good stuff in there, but I'm going to cut myself off at that part. And then another tiny zine that I feel like is relevant for right now is the Bad Day book by an artist, also a local artist called L.B. Lee, whose work I found at a zine fest I was tabling at. I've actually split a table with this zine maker at a zine fest before. So this is all the things that you can do if you're having a really bad day. And who do you call for emergency bad days? List some people you feel comfortable calling, and then there's numbers for hotlines. So this is like brainstorming prompts for what to do. You kind of write it when you're not having so much of a bad day and then look back later. And it talks about taking a deep breath, getting to a safe place, and staying calm, and remembering that this too shall pass, which I feel like can be really helpful. And then the last zine for the first section is also very, very pandemic relevant, and it's actually by the zine maker who made the first zine. I'm just seeing some of your comments, and it's exciting to see them. So this is also by Sarah Merck, and I wanted to show this one today, but then it like got lost underneath some of my stuff, and I was like, I don't even remember what zine I wanted to show, so whatever. And then I found it as I was cleaning my room today, and I was like, oh my god, I have to include this one, I love it. It is called Are We Doomed? I try not to ponder life's existential questions. I always come up with the same depressing answers. The speech bubble says, nothing matters. On the one hand, humans are just a finite era on this earth, as fleeting as the dinosaurs. This is the artist saying, life is long, also it rushes by so quickly. Oh God, oh no. On the other hand, this is the only life I've got. I want to be the best person I can be. Humans always seek meaning, even when life is senseless chaos. We're hardwired as storytellers. This is two people saying, good will prevail, I know it. And the stories we want to tell are good ones. Conservative people claimed the word values to mean religious, but I think of myself as a really values-based person. This is her saying, "I need to make more money so I can give more money to abortion rights activists. It gives me hope and meaning to embody my values, even though the meaning is imposed by me, not the universe, which cares not a bit." And this is her gravestone, which says, "R.I.P. Sarah. She never signed up for Uber." So I like going back to that one. Okay, any questions on the first section before I move on to the sexy zines? All right, I'm going to keep going. Okay, so first sexy zine is called "You're So Sexy When You're Not Transmitting STIs," as in sexually transmitted infections. I love this zine partly because it is beautifully illustrated, informative, and comes with a free condom on the back. So very useful. And I also love this zine because a lot of times in my life when people, like my sex partners, will say to me, "You're so sexy," which of course I love hearing, I always think, "When you're not transmitting STIs," because of this zine. But that's a long one, so I'm not going to read you any of it. This zine is about sex work, and I'm very grateful to have this copy of the zine because it is, yes, I can post the zine authors' names. Yes, definitely. I actually made a PDF of them, but there are a couple on here that I need to add that I haven't put on there yet. So this is a zine that I got, I don't know how many years ago, probably at least 5. Yeah, Janelle says she'll add it to the website with the recording, the PDF. So this zine is from Pretty Dirty Press, and it is about one person's experiences doing sex work. And Pretty Dirty Press is no longer putting out their hang-ups and hard work zines. And you can't get a copy of it anywhere. And I know because I've tried, because I only have this one issue, but there are multiple issues. And I've messaged the zine maker multiple times being like, "If you have any more lying around, like I really want the others." And over the course of like years, I've asked this a couple times, and she's always like, "Oh yeah, I'll take a look," nothing. So I really like hold this zine near to my heart because it is such a hard thing to come by. But it just talks about her experiences with starting sex work, and how she feels about sex and all that stuff. I think it's like a very obviously text-heavy zine, so there's a lot about her experiences, and it's very unfiltered. And I think my favorite part is this section, which is called, she's answering questions, and the question is, "What was the first time you received money for this, like this being some kind of sex thing?" And she writes, "Thrilling," and talks about the issue is that people think all porn and all sex work is disempowering. This is just not true. And she says, I'm trying to think. This is more just about the ideas around sex work, but I thought there was a description of her first time. I'm not seeing it. But anyway, just talking about how exciting it was for her to get paid for a sex act, and how great that felt and how that makes her want to keep doing it, which I feel like is of course not true for everyone who does this sort of thing, but it's refreshing to hear because you often don't hear that sort of thing. Okay, so I've got 2 more sex work zines because I've definitely been on a big sex work zine kick, and then 1 more general sex zine. So I'm going to show you these 2 together because I think that they're kind of funny in how they are very different takes on the same thing. or similar things, where this one is called Fuck You, Pay Me, and this one is called Well Worn and Very Used. And Fuck You, Pay Me is a lot of actual practical advice, but of course has like a very harsh title. But Well Worn and Very Used is like the complete opposite tone, where it's like this woman who is talking about her experiences with starting to sell her used stuff online. And she talks about how she feels guilty charging people, and like how it's like she enjoys it and makes money, and has talked about like how some of her clients are really, really nice and she enjoys chatting with them. And she gives lots of tips on how to do it, but it's just like she is coming from this like extremely, extremely nice perspective, where this one is coming from more of a like, look out for yourself and advocate for yourself perspective, and like fuck anyone who doesn't respect that. So I kind of like the two sides of that at the same time. So this one consists of rules for getting paid. Get paid rule number 1, cultivate a following. There's a lot more information, but I'm not going to read it all. Get paid rule number 2, stop giving it away for free. It says, open your messenger app and count how many men you've been talking to this week. Do some quick math. Imagine that for every guy taking up space in your inbox, you're doing an hour of free work a day. All that time texting, responding, thinking of a response, posing for selfies, editing nudes. That's time and energy wasted. Get rid of the dead weight. If you aren't realistically going to be dating that guy, you're really fucking yourself over by texting him all day. What you're doing is labor. Listening to him complain about work, flattering him when he sends dick pics, that's emotional labor. When I say stop giving it away for free, I mean nudes and sexting and texting and emotional support and happy birthdays, etc. If he's a real life emotionally available love interest trying to date you, that's one thing. But if he's some smooth talking fuckboy in a band from Florida and he might come visit, cut that shit out. Okay, final sex scene that I have not made myself. The Cool Teen's Guide to Fingering. This I found at a bookstore in San Francisco. It says, hey, cool teen, first things first, what is fingering anyway? Fingering is the act of moving one's fingers in, on, or around the clitoral and vaginal area. If you're not sure what a clitoris or vagina is, ask a librarian to help you look them up in the encyclopedia at your local public library. Can I get pregnant from fingering? Is fingering dangerous? Be smart. Arm yourself with knowledge. Is fingering cool? What's really cool is educating yourself about sexual health, then making your own decisions as a confident, well-informed teen. But yes, fingering is extremely cool. Okay, so those are the ones, that's section 2. Now for our third and final section. Zines that I have made myself. So this is actually, I think, the zine I've sold the most copies of all the zines I've made. It is called What I Wish I Could Tell My Teenage Self About Sex, Sex Letters Volume 1. And it's just a collection of letters that people have written to their teenage selves saying all the things they wish they knew about sex, bodies, relationships, gender, things like that. And there's some images, but it's mostly text. It's mostly just these letters people have written. And there's also some genital pictures just for information. But this is really nice to like read and kind of just do some emotional processing and learning about what other people's relationships to learning about sex have been like for them. This one is called the Sexual Freedom Activism Field Guide. It is just about if you want to do some kind of sex positive activism, where to start, and not feeling like you need to have some sort of like degree or anyone giving you permission to be doing this sort of thing. And also, this is a list of sexual rights issues that you might be interested in doing activism about. What does sexual empowerment look like? This one page. What can I do? These are options and ideas. It includes things like writing, hosting events, teaching, protesting, making art, influencing politics, research, and support existing activist groups and cause-driven organizations. Oh, Janelle says that she has this one. And then there's a little bit about sex-positive communities, how to find a community that will support you in your interest in sexual freedom, sex positivity, consent. A little bit about anti-oppression in other realms, not just thinking about it in terms of sex. Yeah, so then this one has like a little thing about this is what sexual freedom means, and it has a bunch of things that are a part of that. This, I think, is the most recent zine that I made out of all the zines that I'm going to show you. And it's the second to last zine I'm going to show you. It's called Sexual Freedom in the Holy City, a guide to finding sex positivity in Jerusalem. So when I was living in Jerusalem, now it's a couple of years ago, I can't believe it's been that long, it was like I had been living in Jamaica Plain in Boston for a few years beforehand, and it was very, there was a lot of LGBTQ people and a lot of liberal values around sexuality, and then moving to Jerusalem was so different than that. Not that there was no one like that, but there were really not the same amount of institutions that were promoting things like that, and events you could go to, groups to be a part of. So I took that as kind of a exciting challenge to try to find all the things that were there. And I was so happy, like every time I did find a new organization that was doing something that had something to do with sexuality, sex positivity. It starts with hello and welcome to the scene. There's a little drawing of me. So this one is really just a guidebook, and it talks about organizations that do sex education and advocacy in the Jerusalem area, wellness, so sexual health type stuff, and mental health, LGBTQ stuff. This is a drawing I did of people at the Jerusalem March for Pride and Tolerance. Kinky stuff. There are some actual like pet life groups in Jerusalem that have events, which I was really excited to find out. This is about the one sex shop that I found in Jerusalem, literally one for the entire city, and it was very small. Luckily, it was near my apartment. But also gender equality organizations and initiatives, stuff on consent and sexual assault. They had a slut walk in Jerusalem. So this is someone from the slut walk. This is me at the slut walk, holding a sign. And then I also did an interview with a sex educator who lives in the Gaza Strip and does sex education there, and found it really fascinating to talk to him about what sex ed looks like in Jerusalem. In the Gaza Strip. And then the last part of this is another interview that I did with a feminist zine maker who lives in Jerusalem named Hadass. And she ended up being one of my closest friends in Jerusalem. And then this is like a fake version of a street sign in Jerusalem where they have Hebrew, Arabic, and English like this, but these all say sexual freedom instead of the street name. Okay. You made it to the final zine, which is a zine that I made called The Art of the Solicited Dick Pic. So it is to encourage people who want to send dick pics to figure out how to do that in a way that makes everybody happy, rather than the problem of lots of people sending dick pics that are not wanted and not asked for. Because I think a lot of times in feminist circles, you hear a lot about like, stop sending pictures of your dick. No one wants to see that, which is not literally true. A lot of people do actually want to see that, but you have to find them and you have to communicate about it. So this just talks about that. The steps are: receive a request for a photo of your penis. That's step one. So how do I do this, you ask? It's out of my control whether someone asks for a photo of my penis. While this may be true, there are some things you can do to increase your chances of receiving such a request. Treat people with kindness, form relationships with people who show an interest in your penis, gently mention that you appreciate erotic imagery, but don't pressure anyone. If receiving a request seems unrealistic or you just want to be more proactive, you can try asking someone who you already have a sexual relationship with if they'd like to see a nude photo of you. Though this would technically be a consensual dick pic, not a solicited dick pic, but those are good too. Step 2 is get sexy. Step 3, find decent lighting. 4, get creative. 5, get snapping. 6, choose a photo. 7, edit your photo. 8, write a caption. I included some caption suggestions for people who might be stuck. So they are a few options for various moods or relationships that you might have with the recipient. Sentimental: I can't wait until I can touch you again. Feisty: I want you. Kinky: you're not allowed to come until I say so. Long-term relationship: I miss your mouth on my cock. Playful: what you doing? And lastly, smutty: I'm so hard right now thinking about you. So those are just a few suggestions, but I encourage dick pic senders to be creative. And then the last step is just send and then go do something else so that you're not sitting around worrying about what the person's going to think. Oh, and also make sure that you definitely have the right recipient in the to box. So thank you so much for watching and looking at the things in my tour. Any questions?
How long, I know you've been doing this for a very long time, but how long have you been making zines for?
So I have been making zines about sex stuff for about six years. But I made like kid versions of zines as like a little kid in elementary school. So it's something that I've always been, for whatever reason, inclined to do.
You have a very accessible style. And I feel like you invite a lot of, your work always makes me feel like the fact that I don't already know how to do what I don't know how to do is okay. Is really, I think, what it is. I'm gonna have to mute myself again because it's loud. But I really appreciate that about your work.
Thank you. That's so nice of you to say. It makes me think of a conversation I had with a new friend once a couple of years ago, where I ended up telling her, like, how did I get into making zines about sex stuff? Like, why am I so interested in this stuff? And it was all like, you know, I had all these really bad experiences. I didn't get this information. Like, I had a lot of embarrassment and shame around it and a lot of anxiety around it. And that all so much informs how I make this stuff. Like, I feel like I just know the feeling of like being like, I'm supposed to know this already and I don't, and like that is really embarrassing or makes me feel bad, and I don't want anyone to feel that way. And I remember my friend being surprised because she had assumed that I do sex education because it's something that like that is like a positive part of my life that I love and want to share with the rest of the world type of thing, which I was like, I mean, yeah, but like there's so much, there was so much struggle that brought me to that point.
Nicole, I just want to say thank you so much for opening up your home and inviting us in. And I was really surprised by the variety of just the different takes on the subject matter. So thank you so much for sharing. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thank you for watching. It's so nice to have an audience and people who are interested in the things that I'm interested in, because as I was deciding what things to show today, I was just going through my zine collection and my art prints and stuff like that, and I was like, I love this stuff. The reasons that I have these things is because I am excited about them for whatever reason, and so it's so fun to show you all the things that I'm excited about.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being a part of this experiment. We're all just trying to figure out how best to connect with each other at this time. It's a real treat. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for including me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, bye everyone. Have a good
Bye.
session.